So we just wanted to give you guys kind of an intro into the water filters, and we're going to show you real quick how we process some of the materials. It's very time consuming, processing the materials to prepare for the filters. So inside the filters, there's 3 layers of stuff. There's these big rocks, there's these little rocks, and then there's this black fine gravel sand over here. But it takes a long time to get from this to this fine gravel sand over here. So first thing we have to do is we have to sift it. So, because there's a bunch of big stuff in here, fine powder plus the stuff that we want. So we sift it in screens first, just to get out the fine stuff down here. So she's just breaking up the material to make sure that there's no lumps, because we don't want to waste our material, because it takes so long to do. And so she's going to shake it, and you see the fine sands and the finer materials are falling out the bottom. So then we take this stuff, after it's been sifted, we load it into wheelbarrows, and we have to wash it before it looks like this. So we're going to wash all the fine dust, the fine materials out, so that we end up with just clean sand to filter. So Max, you can just do whatever you normally do. So we're going to try and get all the fine particulate matter off of the heavier sands. So we try and get the fine stuff suspended. We pour it off. And we're left with the sand down in the bottom. So we'll show you this one more time. We're not going to show you the whole process because it takes a long time to do one load. Madeline, do you want to come around to the front so you can see what it looks like when he's pouring it out? As you can see, we're left with the sand down in here, so we wash it till all the fine powder is gone. But that really takes probably, I don't know, 15 rinses or something like that. Takes a long time to get it there. And so basically, we lose all but 1/3 of the material. We start with this much, we end up with this much that ends up in that pile over here to dry.
So you have the big rocks, the medium rocks, and then about 9 lids full of the little stuff to make 1 water filter.
Okay, so we just counted this out in piles. We have enough on this tarp to make 20 filters. So we're going to have to go back to the sifting and sift a bunch more. And we're going to have to go back to washing and wash some more. Yeah, and we probably want to make extra so that we can make more filters. I don't know.
Nothing else, then the next team will have less sand.
Yes. So, but for working 4 people working for a week, we did pretty well as far as producing materials for filters. But we want to see more than this.
The last part of processing materials to fill the filters was to get the larger gravel sorted out. So we had to sort out the smaller gravel here and sift it, wash it, dry it, and then pack it into bags. We had to do the same thing with the larger rocks. They were about 2 to 3 inches. We had to pick those by hand from the pile, put those into wheelbarrows, wash them, dry them, bag them, and then once we had our 2 full bags of sand for each filter and a bag of medium and large rocks each, we bagged all of those up, and those were packed and ready to go into filters. So now we're just going to show a little bit about the building of the bodies of the filters.
So there's 3 sections of pipe that are going into this, 1, 2, 3. These 2 are the same length. We cut them all by hand. The tricky part is having to thread them all by hand and then wrap them with thread tape. You'll see a bunch of taped ones over there, but so we thread them by hand, which is something I didn't know that people could do, but you can. So we clamp it in the little vise here, and we go on and start our threads. And so I just start twisting it. This is another very time-consuming aspect because it takes, for the 30 filters we're trying to make, we need 60 of these, 30 of these. There's a little piece here that we make that's all threaded. So, so a lot of threading to be done. So that's one side there. And then I have to clean the strings off and flip it over and do the other side. But hopefully this gives you just kind of an understanding of how detailed the process can be.
You want to go around these threads 6 times. That's 1, 2, 3, 4.
Aí lá depois, amanhã.
So, you have quite a few of these to do, but it's the same thing for all of them, just both sides. You want to have it look like something like that.
This is like, I don't know, like 8-inch PVC or something. We cut it into 1 meter segments, and the way we do that is we use this little section of PVC as kind of like a, not a stencil, it's not 1 meter, but we measure it out, we mark our lines, then we slide this on and we use this to trace circles around, and we take a sawzall and cut through it with a sawzall. Now, if you have rough edges, we have to go back with a grinder and smooth all the edges down, but this is the main body of the filter. So, this is going to be roughly like this, and so the gravel and stuff is in here to here, and there's a little bit of water that stays in here all the time. And so you pour water in the top, and whatever water here gets put in here, it kind of displaces, and it pushes water out this other side. And so this whole area in here, I hear, is there's no oxygen or anything through this area, so no bacteria or any viruses and stuff are able to travel through. And then any particulate matter is taken out by the fine gravels. This little piece right here is used for the top of this, the top of the filter, because you don't want to pour water straight into the gravel because it'll mix up the sand and there's like bacteria and stuff that gets trapped on the top layer but can't get through. But if you mix it up, it gets messed up. So we cut these. So it starts with a big sheet of plastic, and Max has been cutting them out with like a saw. He cuts them out like this, and then cuts the circles, then drills them. So another time-consuming part of the operation. We've been working on filters for a little while. You can see we've assembled the spigot pieces. We have 31 of these prepared. So now the caps have to be sanded, glued on the bottoms on all 30. We need to cut a few more sections of that big pipe. Mia's over there getting sections ready of dry, clean sand to be portioned out into bags that we'll take into the Pantanal to build these filters with. So we're really on the last stages here. We need to drill some more of these things to put in the tops, and we've got them all cut. We just need to drill them all. Really, we're on the home stretch, but it's just kind of some also finishing touches, like washing these until they look nice and clean like this, but that's it. We found that cleaning these pipes is extremely tedious, so we've implemented an ancient labor technique. Child labor. Great.
Oh, nice.
One of the big things that we did was we just spent a lot of time cleaning these pipes, which was probably the most time-consuming thing of anything we did. We had to scrape them with knives and sandpaper and steel wool and scrub them because they had these deep embedded scratches that were really filthy. So normally they're not that dirty, but we had to put a lot of work into these. Then one of the things we did was we put these little guys on the bottom, so we had to cut out these washers by hand, and had to take these little spigots and attach them. We put we put the nut for the back side on this crescent wrench on a pole, and we rigged up some other systems for doing this, and reach that inside, and the other person screws that on from the outside. One of the other things we're doing is these little rivets in here. Drilling those, putting them in. They support the little splash screens. They keep the water when you pour it in from messing up the layer of your material.
After finishing the filter bodies and materials, we went to the Pantanal to distribute them to families. These filters will clean this dirty water that they were drinking.
Got it? Alright, so we're installing my first filter that I've done. And so what we're doing is we put in the big rocks one at a time, we put in the little pebbles one handful at a time, not putting in the sand one at a time, one handful at a time. And so just putting everything nice and easy so nothing gets messed up. It's also just a calm process, but we put way too much work into each one of these things to risk messing anything up. So pretty soon, once the water level gets a little higher, there's water in here to start with. It's going to start coming out the pipe. So we finished filling it with the material, big rocks, little rocks, and the sand. We took all the dirty water that was left sitting on top of that out. So this is all the dirty water. And we're going to get this final, this little disc in and set it on these rivets. And it's got holes drilled in it, so when they pour water in, it doesn't splash all in and mix up the sand, but it'll just fall in gently and kind of percolate through, and then clean water will come out here. So my guess is that we're going to put that in and start just flushing this thing through with water, and pretty soon we'll be getting clean water out the other end of this thing. Oh, look at, get up close to see the brownness. Hopefully it comes out clean. Starting to get water.
It boils like hot water.
It's just bubbling down through that screen.
So it's being filtered through right now.
And basically we're pushing out water right now that we put in earlier that was sitting in there. But in a few minutes we'll be pushing out this water.
You want to explain what you're doing?
So we poured a bunch of water in. I'm mixing up the sand on top, and I'm pulling out more dirty water. I think we're just trying to get any final impurities off the top, so that once stuff goes through, it'll be really clean. It's already coming through so much cleaner. So you see these two glasses, the one on the right is the one that came out of the faucet over here, which comes from the river and full of all kinds of nasty stuff. And the one on the left is coming out of the filter we just made, and we're still even cleaning it out a little more, but that's already the difference. Beautiful.